Somebody criticized me the other day because they asked me what I do, and I said, I'm gonna bomb the shit out of them. It's true. I don't care. I don't care.
One of America's most iconic companies, Ford just humiliated Donald Trump, and Trump completely loses it. Ford has just unleashed a shockwave across America. It's not your usual corporate announcement, it's a direct challenge to the America First policies that shaped an era. For decades, Ford symbolized American strength and innovation, a name tied to workers' pride and national identity. But now, they've flipped the script. Why did Ford choose this moment to act? What exactly was their announcement, and why is Trump so furious? Most importantly, how does this battle over jobs, identity, and the future of manufacturing affect you? Keep watching, you won't believe what's coming next. What's happening? Ford's announcement wasn't just surprising, it was seismic. At first glance, it looked like any other corporate update, full of buzzwords about innovation and sustainability, but buried within the details was a decision that felt like a gut punch to Trump's economic agenda. Ford would move significant portions of its electric vehicle production overseas. For a company long celebrated as a pillar of American manufacturing, this decision sparked outrage. Trump, never one to back down from a fight, took the news personally. At a rally filled with supporters, he roared, "We built Ford. The American worker built Ford, and this is how they repay us." The media exploded. Conservative outlets lambasted Ford for betraying American workers, accusing them of chasing profits at the expense of national pride. Progressive voices, however, hailed the move as a necessary step towards sustainability and global competitiveness. And social media, it turned into a battlefield, with hashtags like "Not Ford Betrayed Us" and "Go Global" for trending side by side. The stakes couldn't have been higher. For Trump, this was more than a corporate decision. It was a political declaration, one that struck at the heart of his America First vision. For Ford, it was a calculated gamble to stay competitive in an ever-evolving global market. Ford's perspective. From Ford's vantage point, the move wasn't about betrayal, it was about survival. The automotive world is in a state of upheaval. The rise of electric vehicles is no longer a distant future, it's the present. To compete with giants like Tesla, Ford needed a strategy that extended beyond American borders. At the core of Ford's plan was a commitment to sustainability and progress. By ramping up production in global markets like Europe and Asia, Ford aimed to secure its place as a leader in the green revolution. Their leadership made it clear this wasn't just a business decision, it was about positioning Ford for the next century. But behind closed doors, tensions were rising. Executives debated the risks of alienating their core consumer base. Could they maintain their identity as an American icon while embracing a global strategy? The pressure was immense, with critics on all sides demanding answers. Trump's fight back. Donald Trump, never one to miss an opportunity to amplify his message, escalated the rhetoric. His rallies became megaphones for his outrage. With fiery passion, he declared, "This isn't just about one company. It's about whether we're going to stand up for America or let the globalists take over." Supporters cheered and the narrative deepened. Trump positioned Ford as the villain, a symbol of everything wrong with corporate America, but Ford wasn't backing down. In carefully crafted press releases, the company emphasized its ongoing investments in US EV infrastructure, pointing to billions of dollars being poured into American jobs and technology. Still, the damage was done. Social media echoed Trump's claims, with calls to boycott Ford vehicles gaining momentum. For every voice praising Ford's global vision, another accused them of abandoning their roots. The question loomed large. Was Ford charting a bold path for the future, or were they selling out their legacy? The foundation of conflict. The roots of the Ford-Trump conflict can be traced back to Donald Trump's presidency, where his economic policies reshaped the way businesses operated in the United States. Trump's America First agenda was built on a foundation of protectionist trade measures, including sweeping tariffs on imported goods. These tariffs were designed to make domestic manufacturing more competitive, encouraging companies to keep production on American soil and source materials locally. On paper, it seemed like a patriotic move, a rallying cry to rebuild the manufacturing base and bring jobs back to America. But for industries reliant on global supply chains, such as automotive manufacturing, the reality was far more complex. The production of electric vehicles depends heavily on critical materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel. These materials are essential for the production of batteries, the beating heart of the electric vehicle industry. However, the United States does not control the majority of these resources. lithium, and cobalt are primarily mined in regions like South America and Africa, while processing facilities are concentrated in Asia, particularly in China. By imposing steep tariffs on imported materials and goods, Trump's policies inadvertently increased the cost of production for companies like Ford. While these measures were intended to protect American workers, they placed a significant financial strain on manufacturers attempting to remain competitive in an evolving global market. For Ford, the tariffs created a perfect storm. They had to weigh the rising costs of materials against the mounting pressure to keep jobs and production in the United States. Over time, the numbers simply stopped adding up. As global competitors, particularly Tesla, surged ahead with innovation and efficiency, Ford faced the sobering realization that maintaining their status quo was no longer an option. The necessity of a global strategy. Ford's decision to expand production abroad was not made lightly. It came after years of grappling with the harsh economic realities of manufacturing in the modern era. For decades, Ford had been a symbol of American ingenuity and resilience, a name synonymous with domestic production, but the rise of electric vehicles brought about a paradigm shift that could not be ignored. The shift toward electric vehicles was not just a trend, it was an industry-wide revolution. Governments worldwide began implementing stringent emissions regulations, pushing automakers to transition away from traditional internal combustion engines and invest heavily in electric vehicle technology. Countries in Europe and Asia in particular set ambitious goals for electric vehicle adoption, offering subsidies and incentives to manufacturers who invested in green technology. Ford recognized the opportunity to capitalize on these markets, but faced a daunting challenge. Producing electric vehicles domestically was prohibitively expensive. The costs of complying with tariffs, navigating supply chain disruptions, and investing in the infrastructure required for electric vehicle production created a financial burden that could not be sustained in the United States alone. By shifting production to regions with more cost-effective operations, Ford aimed to position itself as a leader in the global electric vehicle market. Markets in Europe and Asia offered not only lower production costs, but also a rapidly growing customer base eager to embrace sustainable transportation solutions. This strategy allowed Ford to remain competitive on the global stage, while aligning with its long-term vision of sustainability. Despite its logic, this move was fraught with controversy. Critics argued that Ford was abandoning its commitment to American workers and prioritizing profits over patriotism. Ford, however, maintained that this was a necessary step to ensure its survival and continued relevance in an industry undergoing unprecedented change. The invisible hand. At the heart of Ford's dilemma lies the intricate web of global supply chains. The automotive industry is deeply interconnected, relying on a delicate network of suppliers and partners across continents. This is especially true for electric vehicle production, which depends on materials and components sourced from multiple countries. Lithium, one of the most critical elements for electric vehicle batteries, is primarily mined in South America, particularly in countries like Chile and Argentina. Cobalt, another essential material, is predominantly extracted from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Once these raw materials are mined, they are transported to processing facilities, many of which are located in China. This multi-step process underscores the global nature of electric vehicle production and the challenges it poses for companies like Ford. Supply chain disruptions, compounded by tariffs and geopolitical tensions, further complicated the equation. The costs of importing processed materials into the United States skyrocketed under Trump's trade policies. Manufacturers found themselves caught in a cycle of increasing expenses and shrinking profit margins. For Ford, relying solely on domestic production became unsustainable. The company faced a choice: adapt to the realities of the global market or risk falling behind its competitors. By expanding production overseas, Ford sought to secure stable access to the materials and components needed for electric vehicle manufacturing while reducing costs and mitigating the risks associated with supply chain disruptions. This decision, while pragmatic from a business perspective, carried significant political and social ramifications. It ignited debates about the ethics of globalization, the future of American manufacturing, and the sacrifices required to remain competitive in a rapidly changing world. Politics meets business. The timing of Ford's announcement could not have been worse. Donald Trump, who had remained a vocal critic of globalism even after leaving office, was ramping up efforts for a potential political comeback. Ford's decision to move production overseas provided Trump with the perfect ammunition for his campaign rhetoric. In a fiery speech delivered shortly after the announcement, Trump accused Ford of turning its back on the American worker. "They're shipping your jobs overseas while you're left to pick up the pieces," he declared to an audience of cheering supporters. His words resonated deeply with communities that had long relied on Ford's presence as an economic anchor. The backlash was immediate. Protests erupted outside Ford plants, with workers and community members expressing their frustration and fear. Small business owners who depended on Ford's operations to drive local economies voiced concerns about the ripple effects of the company's decision. Meanwhile, social media became a battleground, with critics and supporters of Ford's move engaging in heated debates. For Ford, the stakes were monumental. This was not merely a business decision, it was a statement about the company's future and its place in the global market. The leadership team at Ford knew that their actions would be scrutinized not only by their competitors but also by policymakers, workers, and consumers. Ford's leadership framed the move as a bold step towards sustainability and progress. They emphasized their commitment to investing in electric vehicle technology and building the infrastructure needed to support a green revolution. By positioning themselves as pioneers of innovation, Ford hoped to shift the narrative away from accusations of betrayal and toward a vision of long-term growth and environmental responsibility. But the controversy had already taken on a life of its own. For Trump, this was an opportunity to reinforce his vision of economic nationalism and rally his base. For Ford, it was a test of their ability to navigate the complexities of a globalized world while staying true to their heritage. The war of words intensifies. Donald Trump's response to Ford's announcement was anything but subdued. Publicly, he doubled down on his accusations, transforming the controversy into a rallying cry for his supporters. At a series of rallies reminiscent of his presidential campaigns, he painted Ford as a symbol of corporate greed and globalist betrayal. These words ignited a firestorm, resonating with many Americans who felt betrayed by corporate decisions that seemed to prioritize profits over patriotism. Trump framed the issue as a battle for the soul of American manufacturing, urging his supporters to stand firm against companies that outsource jobs. Behind closed doors, however, Trump's advisors were working on more tangible responses. Among the options being considered were stricter tariffs and targeted tax penalties for companies outsourcing production. Trump's administration had previously used similar measures to pressure corporations, and the possibility of implementing these strategies once again became a key focus. While Trump's rhetoric rallied his base, it also carried significant risks. Alienating a company as iconic as Ford could create backlash among other corporate leaders wary of his confrontational approach. Yet, for Trump, the political benefits outweighed the potential fallout. By framing Ford's actions as emblematic of a broader struggle against globalization, he broadened his appeal, energizing supporters who saw this as a fight for the future of America. Defiance in action. Ford, for its part, was prepared for the storm. The company's leadership understood that their decision to move electric vehicle production overseas would be polarizing, but they also knew it was a necessary step to ensure their survival in an increasingly competitive global market. In the wake of Trump's fiery speeches, Ford released a series of statements emphasizing their continued commitment to American jobs. They pointed to their multi-billion-dollar investments in electric vehicle plants in states like Michigan, Kentucky, and Tennessee. These investments, Ford argued, demonstrated their dedication to building a greener future while maintaining a strong domestic presence. At the same time, Ford announced plans to establish a cutting-edge research and development center in Detroit. This initiative was designed not only to bolster their reputation as an innovative leader in the automotive industry, but also to serve as a tangible symbol of their commitment to the United States. Ford's chief executive officer, James Farley, took to the airwaves to deliver a clear message. We are not abandoning America. We are positioning ourselves to lead the global green revolution. This is about innovation, sustainability, and securing our future as a company. Farley's calm and measured tone stood in stark contrast to Trump's fiery rhetoric. While the political clash dominated headlines, Ford sought to redirect the conversation to their vision for the future, a vision that emphasized progress and adaptability in an ever-changing industry. Caution and opportunity. As the Ford-Trump conflict escalated, the ripple effects were felt throughout the automotive industry. Rival manufacturers, watching the drama unfold, reacted with a mix of caution and opportunism. General Motors, Ford's longtime competitor, released a carefully worded statement reaffirming their commitment to American manufacturing. However, they stopped short of directly addressing the Ford-Trump feud, opting to remain neutral and avoid drawing Trump's ire. Similarly, other automakers like Stellantis and Toyota chose to stay silent, focusing instead on their own own operations and long-term strategies. Tesla, however, saw an opportunity. The electric vehicle leader, known for its outspoken chief executive officer Elon Musk, capitalized on the moment to highlight its American-made credentials. In a tweet that quickly went viral, Musk declared, "This is why we build here." Tesla's message was clear. Their commitment to domestic production set them apart from competitors like Ford. The tweet resonated with consumers and added fuel to the already intense debate about the future of American manufacturing. Beyond the automakers, the conflict also raised broader questions about how companies navigated the intersection of business and politics. Industry analysts speculated about the potential long-term implications of the Ford-Trump clash. Would other companies follow Ford's lead, prioritizing global competitiveness over political considerations? Or would the backlash force a return to more traditional approaches that emphasize domestic production and national loyalty? Public backlash. While corporate leaders debate strategy, the American public grappled with the emotional fallout of the Ford-Trump feud. Across the country, communities with deep ties to Ford found themselves at the center of a cultural and economic divide. In Michigan, where Ford's factories had long been economic anchors, the backlash was particularly intense. Protests erupted outside dealerships and manufacturing plants, with workers and community members expressing frustration and fear about what the company's decisions meant for their future. Ford was supposed to stand for us, one factory worker said during an emotional town hall meeting. They built their brand on American pride, and now they're walking away. Online, the conflict played out in real time, with social media becoming a battleground of opposing viewpoints. Hashtags like Odyer Bring Jobs Back and Boycott Ford trended alongside posts from environmental activists praising the company's commitment to sustainability. For every voice denouncing Ford's move, there was another celebrating their efforts to embrace a greener future. This polarization extended beyond social media, spilling over into local economies that relied on Ford's presence. In small towns and cities, businesses that catered to factory workers began to feel the strain. Restaurants, repair shops, and other small enterprises reported declining foot traffic as uncertainty loomed over the community. Yet, amid the division, some Americans saw Ford's decision as a necessary evolution. Environmental advocates argued that the shift toward electric vehicles was essential for combating climate change and securing the long-term health of the planet. They framed Ford's actions as a bold step forward, one that demonstrated the company's willingness to adapt to modern challenges. This isn't just about jobs, one activist wrote in a widely shared post. It's about the future of our planet. Ford is leading the way, and we need to support them. The clash between these perspectives underscored the broader stakes of the Ford-Trump conflict. It wasn't just about one company or one decision, it was about the future of American industry, the balance between progress and tradition, and the values that defined a nation. A new era. The Ford-Trump conflict did more than spark a political and cultural firestorm. It raised profound questions about the nature of American manufacturing in the 21st century. For much of the 20th century, companies like Ford epitomized what it meant to be made in America. The brand's identity was intertwined with the nation's industrial strength, producing vehicles on home soil that symbolized innovation, resilience, and self-reliance. But times have changed. Globalization, automation, and the rise of electric vehicles have reshaped the landscape, challenging the traditional model of manufacturing. Supply chains now stretch across continents, and the materials necessary for modern technology, such as lithium and cobalt, are sourced from regions far removed from the United States. Ford's decision to shift a portion of its electric vehicle production overseas forced Americans to confront an uncomfortable reality. The lines between domestic and international manufacturing have blurred. Critics argued that Ford's actions betrayed its heritage, abandoning the principles that had made it an icon. Yet, others saw the move as an inevitable response to globalization. In a world where efficiency and innovation drive success, clinging to the past could mean falling behind. For Ford, staying competitive meant embracing change, even if it meant redefining what it meant to be an American company. These shifts raise difficult questions. Can companies maintain their identity in a globalized world? Is it possible to reconcile patriotism with the demands of a modern economy? Ford's choices have set a precedent that will likely shape how other industries approach these dilemmas in the future. The battle for progress. The Ford-Trump conflict also highlighted a broader tension, the clash between sustainability and tradition. Electric vehicles represent a seismic shift in the automotive industry. For more than a century, gas-powered engines were the foundation of American car culture. They were synonymous with freedom, adventure, and ingenuity, a legacy that companies like Ford helped build. But the future is electric. Governments around the world are enacting stricter environmental regulations, phasing out internal combustion engines in favor of greener alternatives. Consumers are increasingly demanding vehicles that align with their values, prioritizing sustainability over horsepower. Ford's pivot to electric vehicles is a response to this changing landscape. By investing in battery technology and renewable energy, the company has positioned itself as a leader in the fight against climate change. Yet this transition comes at a cost. For many Americans, the rugged, gas-guzzling image of the traditional Ford truck or car is deeply ingrained in their identity. The shift to electric vehicles feels like a departure from that legacy, a move that prioritizes environmental concerns over cultural traditions. This divide is emblematic of a broader debate playing out across industries. Can progress and tradition coexist? Are companies like Ford betraying their roots, or are they paving the way for a more sustainable future? The answers to these questions will define not only Ford's legacy, but also the trajectory of American industry as a whole. The cultural and economic ripple effects. The Ford-Trump saga is about more than just business decisions or political posturing. It is a microcosm of the divisions within the United States. At its core, this conflict touches on fundamental questions about identity, values, and the direction of the nation's economy. In small towns and cities where Ford's factories have long been economic lifelines, the decision to shift production abroad has left a deep sense of betrayal. Communities that once saw Ford as a symbol of stability now view the company's actions as a threat to their livelihoods. Protests outside factories and dealerships, combined with calls for boycotts on social media, reflect the anger and frustration felt by many. Yet, these emotions are not universal. In urban centers and progressive circles, Ford's decision is being hailed as a bold step towards sustainability and global competitiveness. For environmentalists, the shift to electric vehicles represents a necessary evolution, one that aligns with the urgent need to combat climate change. This polarization underscores the broader cultural and economic divides in America. The Ford-Trump conflict has become a proxy battle for larger debates about globalization versus nationalism, progress versus tradition, and collective action versus individual interests. While these divides are not new, the Ford-Trump feud has brought them into sharper focus. The stakes are no longer abstract, they are personal, affecting workers, families, and communities across the country. A precedent for the future. As the dust begins to settle, the Ford-Trump conflict is leaving a lasting imprint on American industry and politics. Both sides have staked their claims, but the broader implications of this clash extend far beyond the immediate players. For Ford, the stakes could not be higher. The company has positioned itself as a leader in the global green revolution, but it has also faced significant backlash for its perceived betrayal of American values. Whether this gamble will pay off remains to be seen. If Ford succeeds in its transition to electric vehicles, it could set a powerful example for other companies navigating the challenges of a globalized economy. For Donald Trump, the conflict has reinforced his political brand. By framing Ford's decision as an attack on American workers, he has solidified his role as a champion of economic nationalism. This narrative will likely become a central theme in his potential political comeback, galvanizing his base and shaping the national conversation about the future of the economy. Beyond Ford and Trump, the conflict has set a precedent for how corporations and political leaders interact in an increasingly interconnected world. It has highlighted the tensions between business priorities and national interests, forcing both sides to grapple with difficult trade-offs. As industries continue to evolve, the lessons from the Ford-Trump clash will become even more relevant. Companies will need to balance innovation with tradition, global ambition with local loyalty, and progress with identity. The path forward is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the decisions made in this moment will shape the future of American manufacturing and the nation itself. As the battle between Ford and Donald Trump unfolds, one thing is certain: this story isn't just about cars or politics. It's about the future of American industry, the balance between tradition and progress, and the values we hold dear as a society. Whether you see Ford as a visionary company paving the way for a greener future, or a corporate giant turning its back on its roots, there's no denying the stakes are monumental. But what do you think? Should Ford have taken this bold step toward global competitiveness, or should they have prioritized staying true to their American heritage? And what about Donald Trump's response? Was it justified, or does it risk pushing businesses further away? Let us know in the comments below. We want to hear your thoughts.